What if I told you that in the middle of a crowded boardroom, with everyone laughing at a broken, bankrupt single dad, a billionaire CEO got down on one knee, not with a ring, but with a proposal that would change both their lives forever? Stay with me until the end, because this story will shock you, inspire you, and remind you that miracles often come from the most unexpected people. And if you're new here, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss powerful stories like this one. It began with Daniel, a single father who had lost everything. His wife had passed away 2 years earlier after a long illness, and every penny he had was poured into hospital bills, childcare, and trying to keep a roof over his daughter Lily's head. He once ran a small but passionate business, an app he believed could change lives, but when investors pulled out and banks closed in, Daniel was left with nothing. Bankruptcy wasn't just a word for him, it was a daily reality. He worked odd jobs, delivered food late at night, and skipped meals so Lily never went hungry. Yet in his heart, he carried the fire of someone who refused to be crushed. One day, while serving coffee at a financial seminar he could barely afford to attend, Daniel overheard something shocking. A powerful CEO named Ethan Kross, known for building billion-dollar empires, was about to lose his latest company. Shares were crashing, investors were panicking, and the empire he had built seemed destined to collapse. The room was filled with wealthy men and women in suits, offering advice coated with arrogance, each one suggesting strategies that protected their own wealth, not Ethan's vision. Daniel, holding a tray, listened silently until he couldn't anymore. He cleared his throat, his hands trembling. "Excuse me," he said softly, "but you're all missing the point." The entire room fell silent, eyes darting toward the bankrupt single dad who had no right to speak in a room of power. Some laughed under their breath, others shook their heads. But Ethan, tired of empty words, motioned for him to continue. Daniel took a deep breath and explained a bold strategy. He didn't speak in complicated financial jargon, instead, he spoke from the heart, about people, about trust, about building something not just for profit but for value. He outlined a simple, almost crazy idea that could stabilize the company, rebuild investor trust, and even open a new market that no one had dared to enter. He said it with passion, conviction, and a strange mixture of fear and hope. For a moment, the room was silent. Then the laughter erupted. "Who is this guy?" One investor sneered. "He can't even manage his own life, and he thinks he can save a billion-dollar company." Others joined in, mocking him until Ethan raised his hand. "Wait," Ethan said firmly. His sharp eyes studied Daniel, not with ridicule but curiosity. You actually understand what we need. Tell me more." The room quieted again, and for the next hour, Daniel laid out his plan. He spoke with raw honesty, weaving his own experiences of loss, resilience, and survival into a strategy that made business sense at its core. Ethan listened, took notes, and asked questions, serious questions, as if Daniel were the only voice in the room worth hearing. 3 weeks later, Ethan tested Daniel's idea. What happened shocked everyone. The strategy not only stopped the company from collapsing but reversed its course so dramatically that within months, Ethan's company earned over $1 billion in profit. It was a turnaround so fast that journalists called it the miracle recovery. Investors who had once mocked Daniel now scrambled to know his name. And yet, Daniel didn't care about the fame or money. He only cared about Lily, who would finally have a life better than surviving day to day. But Ethan cared. He remembered the trembling voice of a man who had risked ridicule to speak up, who had poured his pain into something that saved not just a company, but the jobs and futures of thousands of people. So one day, in front of the same boardroom where Daniel had been mocked, Ethan walked up to him. He didn't just offer him a job, he went further. He got down on one knee, looked Daniel in the eye, and said, "Be my partner. Not just in business, be my co-CEO. The world doesn't need another billionaire, it needs men like you, who know what it means to fight, to lose, and to rise again. I don't just want to work with you, I want to build this empire with you." The room gasped. It was a proposal of respect, of trust, of brotherhood. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. For the first time since his wife passed, he felt the weight of the world lift from his shoulders. He had gone from bankruptcy to being the man who helped create a billion-dollar miracle. And as Ethan clasped his hand and lifted him up before the stunned crowd, Daniel whispered, "For Lily." I'll do it for her, and for everyone who ever thought their voice didn't matter. The applause that erupted wasn't just for the billion-dollar win, it was for the reminder that greatness can come from the most unexpected souls, that even when life breaks you down to nothing, your heart, your courage, and your voice can still change the world. So, if you ever feel invisible, if you've ever been laughed at or told you don't belong, remember Daniel's story. Sometimes, the world doesn't see your worth until you dare to speak. And when you do, you might just change everything. If this story touched you, hit that like button and subscribe right now, because more than anything, I want you to never forget, your voice matters, your story matters, and your miracle might be closer than you think.